Making a gluten-free fruitcake today. So the first thing I'm going to do is 5 tablespoons of oil. And remember, if you don't have a mixer, it's not a problem, you can mix it by hand. 1 tablespoon of black treacle. Notice the way round I did it there. I put the oil in first and used the same spoon to put the treacle in, and that's because the oil stops the treacle from sticking to the spoon, so it goes into the bowl easier. And then I'm just going to crack 3 eggs into the bowl. I'm just going to mix that up. That's my eggs, treacle and oil all mixed in together in my machine. What I have here is 200 grams of gluten-free flour. I've added some baking powder to this, and then I've also added some mixed spice, so just give that a nice flavour. I've got dried fruit here, around about 400 grams of dried fruit, and I'm just going to mix that in with the flour, and then just mix that into the flour like this. The next stage is your flour with all your fruit. Just mix that into the bowl. And just mix that through to make a paste. That's my cake mix complete now. What I'll do is leave that stand for a couple of hours just to let those flavours mix in together, give that a bit of a richer taste. I'll then put that into a lined cake tin, and I'll line that with butter and some greaseproof paper. I'll put that into the oven at 150 degrees for around about 55 to 60 minutes, so up to an hour to cook this. I'll check that as I go through. I'll use a skewer just to push that through the cake, and when it comes out clear, we know that it's been cooked. Fruitcake's now come out of the oven. It's just come out, so it's still very hot. I'm just going to get my fork here, and I'm just going to poke some holes into it, because what I'm doing now is I'm just making a glaze to go over this. And the glaze is just sugar and water, so I'm putting the sugar in there, which is allowing that to reduce down by about 50% or half. And then I'm just going to pour the glaze over and allow that to set on top, so you get that nice mirror glaze on there. So that's my glaze ready to go. Top tip, make sure that you've got something underneath your cake to catch the fluid as it comes out. And all I'm doing is I'm just putting that onto there, and that will then go into the cake. It will also moisten the inside of the cake. With a lot of gluten-free recipes, they're notoriously dry, so I don't want it to be dry. I want to get a good glaze on top, and then just a little bit around the side. We can do that a couple of times if we want to, so we can let it rest for a little while, take in that fluid, and then do it again. So I thought I'd give you an example. What I've done is I've just cooked this apple in some sugar and a couple of tablespoons of water. I'm just going to put this into the centre like this. Now you can do it in a nice pattern if you want. I'm just taking it up to the top and just leaving it in the centre. Be very careful when you're dealing with hot sugar. It is very hot, very painful if you burn yourself, so please be careful. So you can see I didn't leave this on too long. They're quite thin slices, so they only take a couple of minutes, so don't go away and leave it. Just going to add some more of this glaze over the top of it now. A little bit more on the cake. And those sugars should set on there, so it should be quite nice and secure on top of the cake. A little bit around the side again. Another nice thing to put on top of here is things like some nuts, so you could roast the nuts off with some sugar and water, and they'll give it a nice, nice sugary coating. And that's gluten-free fruit cake.